if they get the chance. They were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not but be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been let this dance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away. To go, leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you've never run before.
You GBY, you ain't got no alibi. You rugby. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby blog. That this week's introduction was inspired by the announcer at the Uruguay-Italy game, who apparently was trying to get the atmosphere going by simply getting the crowd to chant rugby over and over again. This is why that someone needs to employ us as stadium announcers. Can you imagine the kind of shenanigans we'd get up to?
Oh, it would be utterly magnificent, wouldn't it? It would be
it'd be more inspired than just getting people to chant the name of the sport that's about to be played. Joining me this evening on the podcast, we have John Anderson, back fresh from holiday. Good evening, John.
Yep, thank you, Cam. Fresh from holiday indeed. Yep, I'm glad to be back.
Rested and ready to unleash some
fury
hot takes on Scotland fans once more.
I've missed them while I've been away. So I've been
or are you rested? Are you rested enough, John, that you're not going? Has your tolerance of Scotland fans' nonsense reset itself?
Absolutely not. No, it's probably got worse.
Also,
distance makes it worse. You know, like you're watching it from afar, going, "Why?"
Also joining this evening, we have Johnny McGinty. Good evening, Johnny.
Hello. I planned to come on early and sort my traditional early in the show connection issues, but then I got distracted by a really sexy French try, so I didn't. Sorry.
France are currently beating the clock at the minute. It's 28 minutes into the game when I checked, and they were 33-0 up.
Honestly.
So bless Namibia, bless them. We're currently live at the moment on Wednesday evening on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch and Facebook. If you're watching live, hello,
it's
you're very
Thursday.
welcome. Is it Thursday?
It's Thursday.
Jesus Christ. It's been one of those weeks.
In the spirit of being shambolic, I should say hello to, I didn't even catch their name, the lovely barman at the wedding I was at on Saturday, who said to me when I went to get a drink, "Can I just ask, are you Johnny McGinty? Because I listen to the Scottish Rugby podcast." So, hello. It was
Hello,
very nice to meet
barman.
you. Sorry
Hello,
for being-
So he was
sorry
really
for being
complimentary
absolutely
of you.
stupid and awkward and embarrassing myself.
So,
I didn't really know how
so
to take it because I'm not like John. It doesn't happen to me very often.
this isn't that's clearly not what happened, Johnny. Clearly what happened is you now, fame has gone to your head so much so that you won't even ask the names of the common people that deign to come and talk to you.
So
Are
there's
you
a-
Johnny
there's a
McGinty from the
couple
podcast?
of-
Yes, I am, peasant.
Facts. Actual facts.
Go on, Johnny, you're going to
There's a
add
couple
something.
of contributing factors. One is that it doesn't happen to be very often, and two,
We didn't hear what 2 was because Johnny logged on late, got distracted by a French try. What was 2, Johnny? What was 2? Was number
Go on,
2 you were
Johnny.
steaming?
Or was 2 that you just thought that the peasant barman didn't need to know who you were, and actually you told him a fake ID and told him that he should, listen to another podcast?
Did he not give you? Did he not give you free drinks?
Yeah, totally.
No free drinks, Johnny.
no. See, there's my traditional connection issues. No, there wasn't, because I'm not that sort of person who's like, "Yeah, you're damn right I am. Where's my free drinks?" I just very awkwardly went, "Oh, that's really nice. Nice to meet you." Didn't really know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm yet to be recognised by a barman, but 100% when that happens, there will be free drinks involved.
Yeah,
Because I am that type of person.
I live in absolute fear since we've done this that someone's going to recognise me when I'm in a professional setting. That is my one biggest fear, and then they'll tie it to the nonsense on our Twitter feed as well.
Just blame Johnny.
Yeah, well, that's it.
I did
That's
make a
why,
point of saying I wasn't responsible for that.
Yeah, only in private you did, Johnny. Not publicly. This is the whole reason why I set up the pod, switched my personal account to a pod account. Plausible deniability. I can just blame one of yous. If it ever comes back to me at work, oh yeah, no, that wasn't me. That was one of the other lads that tweeted that. I've got no control over them. They're animals.
Anyone who knows me, it would be a fair cop. But
Yeah.
you'll get.
I
away
would
with
never
everything.
call Andy good that.
If you see us in public, though, if you do see us in public and you're a barman and you want to give us free drink, it's always welcome.
Yeah.
In fact, we insist
100%.
upon it. That's how famous
That's
we are.
make- see, I should-
That's what we're
That's
should
how
have really
famous
made that
and important
clear
we
on
are
people.
in the world of Scottish rugby. John Anderson.
Yes, I love that.
This has been my whole philosophy
Anyway.
in this World Cup is we've got to, as a nation now, we're 5th in the world and we've got to start acting like it. So we need that level of entitlement, and I think we need that level of entitlement as podcast hosts as well. Just walking around, where's my free stuff?
Anyway,
Yeah,
Barman liked my
I like
speech,
this.
appreciated my dig at South Africa, and I was very.
Did you
pleased
get a
to
dig
hear
at South
it. I was-
Africa?
I
Or
was
dig
too
at South
drunk
Africa on the pod, or did you get a dig at South Africa in speech?
Oh, in my speech, yeah.
Oh, right.
There was a couple. So one of the other guests is South African, and I was mentioning them in my speech, so I took a dig at them. Although completely blown out of the water by the father of the bride. Bride is Irish, groom is Scottish, and for his speech, he went through the bride's entire life and mentioned like a number of important occasions in her life, like the year she started school, the year she went to high school, the year she moved to Scotland, all sorts of stuff, and tied every single one into telling us who won that year's Six Nations game, Scotland or Ireland. And it got quite boring after a while because it was usually Ireland.
The bride couldn't have been very old then.
Well, or landmarks in a life didn't happen during the 90s.
This is, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we're going to get onto the various scenarios that may or may not occur in Pool B in a wee while. We're going to try and do some maths live on the podcast, which is always fun. I've trailed this on the thing. It's always fun when we try and do maths and tell our lefts from our rights on this podcast, quite literally sometimes. A couple of bits of news first of all. In amazing banter news, Keith Russell is now director of rugby at Stirling County. Absolutely, you may have missed this, John, being on holiday, but that is very exciting in the banter stakes.
That's who else I met at the wedding on Saturday. The head coach of
Keith Russell.
County. No,
Keith Russell.
Craig,
the head
Craig
coach.
Deakins.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Cool, Craig Deakins.
Because he had a Stirling County jumper and tie on, and he was an evening guest, and I went over to say, "That's a bit much, mate." And he was like, "Well, I am the first." He went, "I am the first 15 head coach," and the bus just basically dropped me at the end of the road, and I was like, "All right, fair." In that case, I'll allow it.
Could he not just take his jumper off? Like, what the hell? Like, come on, wrap it around his waist.
So that's going to be fun to see how that unfolds. I would imagine it'll make the council meetings fun.
Presuming that Stirling lose their Super Six franchise next year.
Oh, let's wait till that happens. Yeah, they can't because they've got the best stash, as we've established on this podcast.
Yes,
I'm not entirely convinced that is the determining factor, though.
They've called themselves Wolves. I mean, you can't get rid of a team that's called themselves after an animal.
That's true. It's facts.
Ayrshire Bulls, Stirling Wolves. The rest of them are all cowards.
Boroughmuir Bears.
Yeah, I'll allow it. The alliteration slightly lets it down.
I nearly ended up like we were in a wood with bears on holiday, and it was wild, and there could have been bears eating me, so I might not have ever.
Did you find any jobbies?
Let's pause for a minute, John, because I've been in that scenario as well.
Question.
It's not great.
It's not. No, I've been. So we were hiking up. Like if you're new to this podcast, this happens a lot, right? Don't expect much talk about rugby.
We're off for a segue.
So I was we were hiking in Finland once in the middle of the night, because you can do, because it's light till it's land of the midnight sun, isn't it?
Yep.
And we hiked with some guys who were British, but they kind of lived locally, and they took us to see the reindeer herding. It was beautiful, saw these reindeer being herded, and they were like, "Right, we're going to keep walking. We're going to a hut. You can find your own way back, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I reckon so. But is there not like bears and wolves?" And they went, "Oh yeah. You've got a knife, haven't you?" I was like, "No." "Do I need one?" He went, "Probably." I was like, "Can I borrow one?" "No." "You'll find your own way back. It's fine." That is the fastest 5K I've ever done in my life. How were the bears though, John? Was this were you equipped with a knife?
No, we weren't. No, so we took the normal route up to a viewpoint in the national park, and then we thought, well, there's another route back, so we could take that. So off we set, and it was fine. Of course, there's loads of warnings about bears and and wolves, and you're like, okay, cool. There's definitely bears and wolves in these woods. And then we sort of followed this sign, and then the sign stopped, and then it was very much like even the markings on the trees, like the little paint dots, started to stop. And we did take a wrong turn and met a very lovely Serbian man called Marco, who would only speak German and called Scottish people tight. Because apparently we didn't buy a €1 coffee. So, which it was like 29 at this point. I'm not buying coffee. Get over yourself, mate. But yeah, we ended up like, it turns out we did follow the correct trail, but it was absolutely wild as. So yeah, we didn't get eaten, but there was risks at times. And I did think this is how I die.
If Yogi Bear has taught us anything, John, it's that you're safe so long as you don't have a picnic basket.
This is true. And we didn't.
Facts.
We didn't, because we had no intention of like walking for that long.
I'm not exactly Ray Mears, right? But if I thought I was going to meet a bear, I'd want more than a knife. Is my number
that was
one
my
concern.
thinking too. Yeah. Depends how big the knife is.
Yeah.
Again,
Could you find, like, here's a great big question. Right. Could you take a bear of your arm with a knife, Johnny?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
Isn't
you
there
know,
that
we've
survey?
been back on
Wasn't
the
there that survey?
what's the biggest animal you can kill with your bare hands? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It
it's
wasn't
like-
that. This is like there was a realistic survey they did on people. What's the biggest animal you could kill with your bare hands?
Yeah.
And people have massive
Yeah.
unrealistic expectations of what they can
Yeah,
kill with their
yeah.
bare hands.
Of course they do.
1 in 20 people said a bear, and then it's like 1 in 15 said a lion. Are you lot mental? Don't get me wrong. I would like to watch that.
I reckon I'd struggle. I reckon I'd struggle with anything bigger than a chicken, if I'm honest.
Yeah, like a rabbit might be too much.
I consistently say sheep. I think I could go sheep, but no bigger.
Oh, a sheep.
Oh,
would
sheep's
end
a
you.
robust. Sheep would absolutely end you. I was at an agricultural show
No,
the other
break his
day and
neck.
see some of these sheep. They're not messing about. It depends what breed of
Yeah.
sheep, of course.
Aye,
Yeah.
but most sheep are angry, and Johnny, you would get absolutely nailed by a sheep.
Some sheep are
We actually
absolutely
had a
stacked.
conversation. We had a conversation about this at the weekend, and somebody who I'm probably not going to speak to again. We decided we're talking about it on like weight, and this dude who I previously thought was like quite a nice guy was like, "Oh, I mean, if we're going weight, then realistically, probably a human." I was like, "Okay, cool."
Oh,
I've decided I'm not going to speak to you anymore.
Okay, that's
that's
Yeah.
interesting. We
reported this person to the
define
authorities?
animal as other people.
if the apocalypse happens, that's the person you want to be beside Johnny when the zombies
Yeah.
come.
Yeah, but on
I
any other
don't
day,
think-
I'm going to steer well clear.
I think it needs to be caveated as well with which animal could you kill with your bare hands, having no formal training. I reckon there's lots of people that probably could do a sheep in if they knew how to subdue a sheep. I'm just saying that most normal people would absolutely be done in by a sheep.
McGinty is clearly not equipped to subdue a sheep.
I could take a sheep.
Johnny could
Absolutely
take a
not.
sheep, right? Well, we may put that to the test. If anyone's willing to put Johnny in that situation, let's put that to the test. My money's on the sheep, but let's see if anyone has access to a sheep and is willing to let Johnny have a go. We'd be up for that on the podcast.
Johnny,
Right,
We'll
out of
We'll
context.
live stream it.
Oh, can I commentate?
Yeah, John's commentating. We're
Yes.
live streaming it.
There you go.
Can,
Fabulous.
the thing is, right, because I'm a vegetarian, can I, like, if I put myself in a position where I'm about to kill a sheep, do I have to kill it, or can we be like, okay, that's fine, you can kill it from now?
No,
If
no,
the
it's
sheep-
going to be
well,
like,
Because I'm not
the
comfortable
sheep's not
killing
gonna.
it.
I was going to say the sheep's not going to tap out, Johnny. The sheep's like going, "Meh, meh," tapping your shoulder.
oh no, it has to, mate. It's Mortal Kombat style. You're going to get a big finish him sign pops up, and then it's like fatalities only.
I don't want
We'll
to
find you a strong sheep with a terminal illness. That's what we'll do.
Oh, this has to
Well,
be
there's the
term.
episode
This has
title, at
got
least.
some weird-
Yeah. There you go. So Callum Grange is on saying this must be the only lambs.
Only lamb series.
There you go,
Oh,
that's
yes.
the title of this episode. Thank you very much, Callum. Look, let's move on from this. We may revisit in the Patreon podcast if people are up for it. Other news this week: Brian Easton's named the WXV2 squad, and he's named 3 uncapped players. Interestingly, with this, we've got Fiona McIntosh and Holly McIntyre. I think Fiona McIntosh is the more interesting one because she's with Saracens and she's Canadian, but has her mum comes from Troon. And I think what's interesting about this to me, Johnny, is that I don't think we've seen this in the past with kind of Scotland proactively going and scouting players in the women's game who have kind of, parents or grandparents who qualify them for Scotland who can come in and do a job for us. So it's encouraging that scouting net for the women's team appears to be being cast more wider.
Yeah, which I guess kind of makes sense, for the same reasons that we do it with the men's team. If we've got access to this resource and things like the Exiles program and stuff are all already there, why wouldn't you? If we could find Scottish qualified players, then that's what we want to be doing. And then it's just going to annoy people again and it'll be hilarious.
What I like about this, John, is that apparently she's is it Holly Mac? Yeah, no, it's Fee McIntosh, who's from a wrestling background.
Very good.
Yes.
Do you know?
So that's what we need more of. We need more people. We need more people from a wrestling background.
I absolutely agree. I remember.
Wait, is she
being
related
at
to Bret the
college-
Hitman Hart?
John's microphone. John's unplugged himself. He's
Yeah,
so
I
excited
did.
at the thought of,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
someone
So
with a wrestling
excited.
background.
Yeah, totally. Am I back? Yeah. Can you hear me?
You're back now, John. We can hear you. Yeah.
Good. I went to college with a wrestler or a UFC fighter or some nonsense. They're all the same now, aren't they? And he used to go to rugby training to practice his grapples. So I think there's crossover.
Is that a euphemism?
I mean, it wasn't in his head, but yes, take from that what you will.
Yeah. The other kind of interesting bit of news, I think, is that traditionally, I think it's we've had God, it's going to go. You've got Ellis is now a second choice hooker, Johnny, which is a great friend of the pod, Ellis Martin, who's kind of come through the development pathways as kind of bided the time. Ellis now playing with Leicester Tigers. Is now kind of pushing for that starting position, which is exciting.
Yeah. I still catch up with Ellis occasionally. It's nice to see how her career's progressing, and she deserves it because she is. If you've seen her on some of the SRU Instagram channels and stuff, she is dynamite content as well as being a great player, and throws herself in to help her out, coaching the age grade setups and doing a bit of photography for them. Everything she's like sticks her hand into everything. So it's nice to see her progressing with the team as well as all that.
I think what's great about John is you've got players like Ellis and I mean, we've talked about Fran McGee before, but when you look at that squad, there are new players coming in. But I think in the past, with the women's squad in particular, there was a very kind of steady squad, and it was the same names again and again and again. What we're getting now is new names coming through, getting the chance. Really, kind of there's competition for places now in this women's squad, and that's quite exciting. I think from a fan's point of view.
Yeah, and I think to further that, I think the new names coming through are not necessarily a massive drop off in quality. Like we've seen in the past where players have come into the squad through injury or through necessity, and the drop off hasn't. It's been quite large at times. So to see these folks coming in and really start really pushing for starting places and really pushing the kind of established players that exist and those big names that the casual supporter are very aware of. That I think that's testament to how far the women's game's starting to progress in Scotland, and we're starting to see it in the results as well. Strength and depth is so important, and new people coming into that team, it's great to see.
So again, for anybody new to the podcast who hasn't listened to us before, what happens with women's rugby now is, depending on where you place in your respective kind of international competition, determines where you then play in this autumn series of games. So Scotland have landed in the second pool, which is WXV2. So we've got South Africa, Japan, the United States, and Scotland in that pool. Got a warm up against Spain ahead of that, which is at the Dam. Is it still called the Dam? What's it called now? It's got a new name.
The Hive.
The Hive, of
Hive.
course, yes. Yep, you can turn it off and on within it when it knows when you're coming 5 miles from home and puts the heating on. That's what it does. Full of bees as well. So they then go away and play the tournament. So that's quite, again, exciting kind of development in women's rugby. So that's what's happening. We were covering that during that tournament, so probably a bit of overlap with the World Cup as well. Speaking of which, let's talk about the World Cup now. We're 25 minutes in. We've talked about bears. We've talked about which animals we could kill with our bare hands, and we've covered the women's squad announcement. And let's talk about the rugby now. So we've got Scotland and Tonga on Sunday, not Saturday, as I said on BBC Scotland earlier this week, and then had to have them give a correction live on air.
Wow.
I know. Fully prepped though I was for that interview earlier this week. I think we're at a stage now early in the tournament, because obviously we've lost to South Africa by 15 points. Johnny, South Africa have beaten Romania. and Ireland have played both Romania and Tonga at this point. So Ireland, I think, are up 117 points. We have South Africa, and I had the pool on before on my phone. I think they were still in double digits, but it was 90. Where is it gone? South Africa on plus 91 points. For Scotland playing Tonga, we're going to have to beat them by a lot of points. I think that's what we need to try bonus point. We're going to have to beat them by a lot of points, and that's a big ask.
Yeah. They have obviously, we spoke about this the other week, used these new rules to their advantage. They've got a handful of All Blacks in their team now. They look a bit kind of sterner than they have been recently. It's not going to be easy. I mean, they're not Fiji, let's be perfectly honest about it, but then they're also not Portugal. Like, we can't be expected to go out and score 80 odd points, but we should hopefully be getting close to 50, I would think.
You'd expect to score more than the 28 points Wales scored against Portugal, who only got into the tournament because Spain fielded some ineligible players.
If we're really lucky, we won't need the 83rd minute to score our bonus point try either.
Hey, John, Ireland beat them 59-16. So it's tough, but we've put big scores on Tonga before, but maybe not a Tonga with some former All Blacks in it.
Yeah, and I think obviously the former All Blacks thing is like, so I caught a bit of the Tonga Ireland game. We were traveling up the road, and what you're seeing is there's definitely individual quality there. They've got individual players, and they look a wee bit more organised than they have done in the past. But I think Tonga, they're still suffering from the same things that are ultimately the Achilles heel of so many of the Pacific nations. Their set piece is not up to par. It's not really going to win them games, and I think Scotland could really get at that if Scotland can at any point decide to start winning lineouts, because it could be. I mean, there's a lot to be said for it. It's possibly important, I've heard, but if we let those individual players get a head of steam up, if we kick the ball loosely to any of those, particularly the backs, Piatau, Fekitoa, you give those guys any sort of space, they're going to cause us problems. But Scotland really should be. This is a massive test for the Scotland side. If they play to a game plan and nullify those players well, and go on to score some points, which they should do in the second half, they should run away with it, then that sets us up for the rest of the tournament. If this is a 4 tries squeaking through, like we've seen in World Cups previous, then I think we could probably all just take the rest of the World Cup off, because it's not going to be interesting from a Scotland perspective.
I mean, I'm just looking to try and remind myself kind of some of the previous games we've had against Tonga. Of course, it was Tonga that did for Andy Robinson at Pittodrie in 2012.
We lost again against them in 2012. That's right. This is
not a 2012 side though. We're not in 2012 territory, Johnny.
No, I think we should be a little bit more comfortable in that. I was there in 2020 in the autumn when we had Darcy playing fullback. I don't want to see that again. But that was a much better performance.
That was 37-12 in 2014. What was that result? I'm trying to kind of go back over the history. It was 60-14. 60-14.
There you go.
We beat them in October 21.
Clearly stopped counting at 40.
But it was 5-0 to Fafita as he ran over the top of Darcy a number of times. That's right.
That was Carl Stein's hat trick. Carl Stein got his hat trick in that match. Yeah. There was also another player who is no longer in the Scotland squad or playing rugby internationally, who scored in that game as well.
Correct.
Yeah, that was an outside the window game.
Go Google it. It was, yeah. It's a shame they didn't. Shame it could be a non-cap game for that individual in particular. So looking at it, I'm checking. Is Richie Gray going to be haunted by 2012? I'm trying. Did Richie Gray play in 2012 against Tonga?
Possibly.
Is Richie Gray going to
probably.
have PTSD going into that game?
Oh,
I think Richie Gray, because his hair color's different now. I think he feels like he's a different. Like sometimes you've got like superheroes have different costumes, and because of that, they have different attributes. I think Richie Gray is a different superhero than he was in 2012.
He hadn't, of course, in 2012. He hadn't killed that rabbit with his bare hands.
Exactly.
That's what changed the man.
Yeah.
As we've established earlier in the podcast, killing an animal with your bare hands changes you.
It would attempt a sheep, but he done a rabbit.
I'd go. I reckon Richie Gray could take a sheep.
yeah.
No offense, Johnny.
2012 era Richie Gray could sneak right into the pen as well because he had proper sheep hair.
He did.
There was a thought of my kindred spirit.
Yep.
Yeah,
like a bloody massive 6'6" sheep.
What do his sheep impressions like? Does he bleat?
Better than yours, I'm going to go with.
Probably.
The Ireland Springboks game this weekend, then that's the key one for us. By my reckoning and my working out, South Africa win, denying Ireland a bonus point, and ideally beating them by more than 15-2 is the ideal outcome for Scotland, John, I think, because it puts us on a level-ish playing field points-wise going into the last game against Ireland.
Yeah, I think because we lost to South Africa, I think really we the ideal situation is South Africa go and absolutely destroy Ireland and probably possibly break as many other players as possible as well. But like the bigger we're sadly with Spirit all going to be supporting South Africa in the coming war. It's such a tough one, isn't it? Because do you remember when we done the episode about who we support, and there was the anyone but England except, and then there was like the rules,
the ranks, yeah.
There was like a whole rule thing, right? South Africa seemed to have taken this to heart and went, "Hold my beer, I want to be part of this." And now they are really, really, really hard to support, even when it's beneficial to your team. But then Ireland are horrible. I can't possibly see myself supporting them. So,
at the risk of making John storm out, I love South Africa. I've got no problem supporting them. I'll support South Africa 300 times out of 100 against Ireland.
Oh,
against pretty much anyone, actually, to be honest.
That's fine. That's your choice, Johnny, and that says something about you. But
do you know? I just think a team that puts 4 scrum halves in a 23-man match day squad is hilarious. And why would we not support that?
For me, what the turning point for me that allowed me to stomach supporting South Africa this weekend was Matt Williams being
morally wrong,
being morally outraged about the fact they've gone for a 7-1 bench. As though there's a passage in the Bible somewhere that says, "Thou must
not put 7 forwards on the bench.
Thou shalt not have no scrum laugh for the halves who lieth with your props on the bench." No, I just like them. I mean, I think his point was, I think player welfare, but the fact he termed that as morally wrong, I think is just utterly hilarious. And I think any Scotland fan will automatically take against Matt Williams anyway. How he's still getting gigs. It's funny because we watch, because he's on it's Rugby. It's like various Rugby Irish channels, and as far as I can tell, his stock has fallen so low now that they stick him out on the equivalent of Rugby Ireland's loose women's slot. So he just gets kind of like, we've got some. We're doing a quick magazine show. Let's drag Matt Williams on. It's not important. No one's listening to this.
I think might say something stupid that gets some traction.
Yeah. But what's your moral opposition to a 7-1 bench then, John?
I've got no moral opposition to 7-1. I think backs, forwards that play in the backs are magnificent. This is a great innovation. It's almost like, someone should have done it before.
Richie Vernon.
Vernon. Yeah. None of the South African forwards are as good as Richie Vernon, mind, but
No. Ember reject Quagga Smith's in there.
yeah, indeed. Yeah.
He's basically the
That's a-
emergency back.
He is. I
Yeah,
mean,
he is.
they didn't name Quagga Smith against Scotland, presumably because he would have been too embarrassed. I can't play against these guys that are too good, so good that I wasn't even allowed to join their team. They were about to sign me, and then they reneged on the deal.
Who was in the Edinburgh back row at that point?
I think it was around the time John Hardy was kicking around and Denton. So they had a reasonable back row at the time. It wasn't a terrible one.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Did Quagga have a straight nose at the time?
I don't know. Who knows? We've still not taken there's that South African guy still kicking around that we've that I said was called Thor on Wikipedia that was capped once by us.
Oh, Dylan
Yeah,
Richardson.
Dylan Richardson, yeah.
I said
He
was
could.
called
I'm pretty sure he
Thor.
can go back to South Africa quite soon.
He
Yeah,
could
I
do. Yeah, I
think
think we
so.
worked out, didn't we, Johnny? I think technically next year South Africa could call him off.
And I think a lot of South African fans want him called up because he's tearing it up.
That would be so. That can you imagine the discourse on Twitter when that happens? You've taken one of our offcasts. How dare you steal all your Scottish imports to South Africa?
Honestly.
Did you
How
see
desperate are
Chris
they?
Harris's Instagram story, by the way, last week with the explosive real reason why Scotland have got so many South African players?
Because they're very good.
there's a clip
Yeah, they're
going
very good
around
barbecues.
Yeah, there's a clip going around on Harris's Instagram, and it's just like the back room of the back garden of the Scottish team hotel with two massive barbecues, and WP Nell on one, Pierre Schumann on the other, and Kyle Steen and Johan van der Merwe are like serving up the meat and getting them on and stuff. I was like, that's why they're actually there, to get the bride.
Question. Why did Duhan not have a top on?
Because he's a sous
Would you
chef.
put a top on if you look like Duhan?
No, but think about it. Like, you are at a World Cup, right? Unfortunate incidents happen. We've seen this, right? Imagine
Ask
a wee
Archie
bit of
Snell
yeah, exactly. A wee Bernie on one of Duhan's nips or something, and then he's out for the tournament.
I'm
after a
telling you,
barbecue.
you watch that video. It was clear who was in charge of that barbecue, and it was not Duhan, and it was not Cal Stain, right?
Oh no,
they were at best waiters, John. at
Yeah.
that
Oh no,
barbecue.
but waiters get injured. Look, Digby Brown tell me all the time online that injuries at work happen. So you got to watch out for that sort of stuff.
I don't think
But it's
anything's
awful.
happening to him. Who's at risk of injuries is W. Pinel, who yet again, like in the team warm up photo for the South Africa game had barbecue sauce on his shirt, right? That is definitely barbecue sauce. And then when they were photoed, like stood next to the barbecue, the four of them had like just stains all down his top, clearly just eating the meat straight off the barbecue, no forks, pure hands.
That's why he's my favourite.
Yep. What a guy.
I suppose when you get to that ripe old age, and you've done your bit and you've earned your stripes, I think it's important just to enjoy your scran.
Big question. Come back to someone.
He is a South African dad at a barbecue. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah. Back to someone, but split bench. People are calling it innovative. I don't see it as particularly innovative. It's just you've just named an extra forward. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't innovative or clever. An 8-0 bench. There's innovation.
No, if you're South Africa and you're renowned for your world class forwards, and you've got the bomb squad and all that nonsense, like to go. Do you know what would be really like? Do you know what would be even better than 6 of those? 7 of those. Like, we could replace almost our whole pack. How cool would that be? Let's do that. Yeah, it's hardly innovation. It's like the sort of drunken ramblings you come up with, at 4 in the morning, when you've clearly been, you're at a house party and you decide you're going to invent a new Facebook or something. It's not innovative.
It's
If
no
there's
more
one
innovative than
thing
that
about
type.
it, I would say
Go on, Johnny.
possibly the team who are putting 7 forwards on their bench probably shouldn't be the one that have only got one hooker in their entire squad. Like,
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, I think that kind of indicates that South Africa maybe aren't interested in scoring tries this weekend that much as just having a very, very good, solid defense and winning the game. The risk, I suppose, with that, Johnny, is Ireland come out of this with a losing bonus point.
yeah. The other problem with that as a sort of game plan is that everybody, including the South African coaches and players, after they played Scotland, were fairly open and accepted of the fact that the one thing that Manny Lebok cannot do is kick for goal. So unless you're planning on the game finishing 0-0, I'm not really sure how these two parts of your game gel together.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough, don't put on any try scorers, pack the bench with forwards, try and get a really close defensive game. But then at some point, you're going to want to kick some penalties, and I'm not sure who's going to do that.
So if worse comes to worse, and let's think this through, Ireland win against South Africa. We need Ireland to beat them by more than 15 points so that we can then just beat Ireland, I think.
Yeah.
That's right, John. We're doing our live maths on here, John.
The most straightforward one is definitely South Africa win, because then South Africa have got 4 wins, we'd have 3, and Ireland would have 2 if we beat Ireland.
Yeah,
and then that's fine.
We beat Ireland.
If Ireland win, it gets a whole lot more complicated.
Yeah, but if Ireland win by more than 15, that effectively cancels out South Africa's points difference that they racked up against us.
Yeah.
And we could just go and beat. It denies South Africa a losing bonus point. They're not going to get a try bonus point with 7 forwards on the bench.
Yeah.
So then we just have to beat Ireland and rack up big scores against Tonga and Romania.
But then we have to rack up points, yeah. So, like, ideally, if Ireland are going to win, we want them to batter them.
Yeah.
Because the more the less we've got to beat Tonga and Romania by.
That's what we don't want a tight, one way or another. We don't want a tight game this weekend. Score wise, we don't want anybody. What we don't want, we want neither of them to score any tries, but one of them to score lots of points more than the other. That's the dream.
Yeah, if we could go like full England Argentina, and South Africa beat them like 27-6 on all penalties, that would be ideal.
That's the dream. Yeah, that makes last week.
And in the process, break not only their players but their souls and their spirit.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Romani's been riding around France in a pair of Crocs on a bicycle, so clearly
giving Keith Earls a backing.
Just I mean, there is already all sorts of risk taken there. I mean, even just the moment you put your feet in a Crocs, you're taking a risk, not just fashion wise, but otherwise as well. So yeah, that's what we need this weekend. I think that my big kind of the one thing I would say in kind of support of South Africa getting a big win this weekend is I still don't think Ireland have had many big tests coming into this. And I wonder how much they kind of treated Tonga and Romania as kind of an extension of the warm-up games. Johnny Sexton hasn't played much. And so your first big test is South Africa. I'm not sure they're battle hardened particularly, John.
No. I mean, they did come into they played a couple of tier 2 nations, obviously in the warm-ups as well. In England,
they played nothing but tier 2 nations.
Yeah. So to come into to play the team that let's be honest, Ireland are number 1 in the world by fluke. South Africa really should be there on merit. So they're playing the team that are better than them. I think it's a tough ask, and the fact they're still relying on a octogenarian at fly half, and he's got his record now, so all the motivation's gone. Clearly that's the only reason he was picked against the two Diddy teams in the group. So, I mean, really, yeah, I really fear for Ireland. I think they might get a spanking, actually.
Yeah. Johnny, how are you feeling about this Ireland squad?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the fact that they keep playing their firsts. Like, it's either a really, really, really good idea and they've got a really cohesive squad and they're ready for this game, or it's a terrible idea and they're all going to be knackered. And they don't know if they can trust the rest of their players outside their first 23. I hope that the fact that they've played them for so much means they get into a really rough game against South Africa and they've all played all the warm-ups and played against South Africa and they're all really tired and they're out of steam by the time they come to play us. That's what I would like. But I don't know if that's
I was
the case
shocked.
or not.
I was shocked they named more than 23 players in their squad and didn't just do the Pacific Islands approach of doing to be confirmed for the other 10 and just like substitute people in if and when. Like, it's. Is there any other fly halves in Ireland other than the guy, the unknown guy that comes off the bench occasionally? Because
there was this young promising player by the name of Benjamin Healy, but apparently he's gone to a better place. Edinburgh.
Do you don't think the Hive sounds a bit like the Borg? And
the Hive's a really terrible club in Edinburgh as well.
Yeah, it's actually.
One of the Namibian players has just been sent off for smashing DuPont in the face, and he's had to go off as well.
Ooh.
And might have broken his cheekbone.
Ooh.
How high are we in the
Oh dear. So we really need to finish second in the group.
Yeah,
play France. That's the dream. Second in the group behind South Africa. And also that fulfills our ultimate dream to be the only and it's still on, boys. Let's not deny it. It's still on.
It's looking difficult. It's looking difficult now.
It's looking difficult, but let's still hold on that dream that we might be the only British and Irish Lions nation to make it through to the quarterfinals. I still clutch onto that. Argentina did us.
I mean, we would need Chile to do a massive favour.
We would. I don't think that's going to happen. Samoa could beat England, I reckon.
Yeah, but I think England will still qualify.
Second at that point.
Yeah.
Behind Samoa.
Japan absolutely done us no favours.
No. So I think England sadly will top the group. So it'll be us and England will go through to the quarters if we deny Ireland. I mean, Wales are on a sugary peg after that Fiji win. We'll cover this more in the Patreon podcast.
Here, hang on. Does that mean that if we beat the Ghost of France, that we'd get England in the semis?
Possibly.
Oh. Let's work this out. Do we need to work this out? Can you imagine? Let's have a look. Let's work this out. So, where's the schedule? It's 61-0 to France at the minute. Good God. So matches. So we'd be in quarterfinal one. I'm trying to find the.
We'd be in quarterfinal 4. So we'd get
quarterfinal 4.
3. So we quarterfinal 3, which is the winner of Pool D and the runner-up of Pool.
Oh no, that is England.
That's England, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
England are Pool D, aren't they?
Pool D, yeah. So you'd get England.
So on the off chance that they beat Fiji in the quarters, if we were to somehow squeak through and beat France B, we'd get England in the semis if they beat Fiji.
So we'd be World Cup finalists.
Okay, that's my.
There's still a chance. There's still a chance that Fiji top that group, though. There's still a chance that Fiji top that group.
Yeah.
And you get
that's fine. I think Australia will take. I'll take England, but then we'll take Australia, so it's fine.
Fine. That side of the draw. That's the side of the draw we want to be in. Maybe. Do you know what? Hey, Gregor Townsend's been playing 3D chess this entire time, lads. Right? He's worked out.
All right, so new plan. We finish second.
Yep, lads, let's not worry about
France
South
are missing
Africa, right?
Dupont and
Keep it to,
Entomac.
it's gone. Let's just keep it to 15, right? Just keep the score to 15 points difference, right? Pressure's all on them, right? We just have to beat Ireland. That's all we need to do, boys. Then we're second. We play France. We can beat them. Don't want to be up against the All Blacks bogey team. We're not beating them for centuries. Semis.
If all goes to
it's
plan,
England,
France
boys.
are missing Dupont and Entomac by then.
Yeah. We're in the final. That's his
They've
work.
still got
He's
the
mapped it all
to come
out.
as well. Maybe we'll get rid of Oliver as well.
There we go. Just that's he's
Perfect.
got it all planned out. We doubt him. He's mapped the whole thing out.
Can we also just say that if Dupont has broken his cheekbone against Namibia, who France are going to put, at this point they are outscoring the clock. They're not quite at world record territory for a Rugby World Cup game, but they're still there. There was never really any doubt, was there? And after the absolute mentalist comments of Fabien Gaultier that he was making in the
they'll be
press,
chucking fashionable glasses and white trainers off the top of the Eiffel Tower this time tomorrow if Dupont is out of the World Cup.
probably
They'll be
with Gaultier
fuming.
in them. There'll be a revolution in France tomorrow morning if he's got broken cheekbone.
When is there not a revolution in France?
Nah, that's fair.
The entire country's one long riot for some reason or another.
Reasonably.
I just really, really, really want Ireland to not go through.
I know.
Me
too, John. Me too.
I agree, but also
Every time we end up talking about the pools and stuff, all I think is that, I'm happier to see England go through now than Ireland. I hate them.
Oh, now, Johnny, come on.
It's just see
It's
until
only
Johnny
'cause you're in the
Sexton
pool.
retires.
England, you can
No,
explain
until
it
Johnny
away,
Sexton retires, they're top of the list.
England, you can explain it away. You're like, oh, they've got an absolute complete
Yeah,
fixed
exactly.
pool, like an absolute shannon.
Yeah, they're pool.
Honestly,
you know what?
Argentina were the only threat, and they didn't pick Cancelleri, so they clearly didn't take it seriously.
Do you know what? If I think of England as one of those sad dogs in the Dog Trust advert, then I can kind of, I'm kind of like, do you know what?
Yeah.
It'd be nice for them to find a home and make it to the quarterfinals to make them feel loved.
Yeah, that's it. England aren't going to win. They're going to get to the point where they have to play an actual team and then they're going to go home. So it's like nothing to worry about. Whereas Ireland are so insufferable.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? They would never shut up about it if they won the World Cup.
I know.
And
they'll never shut up if they win a quarter final.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I almost want them to get to quarterfinals to fail once again.
Yeah, but that means we go out, John. I'm not sure I could take that.
No, I know, but if that is to be our fate, then that is how I want it to play out.
I would 100% be on Twitter the next day reminding everyone that we've made a World Cup semi-final. I don't care if it was 1993 or 1992. It's still very funny.
1991, sorry.
91, yeah, I don't care. It's still funny.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. On that hilarious note,
if France have lost Dupont and Entomac and Ireland get into the quarterfinals and still lose, that would be almost as good.
Yeah. There we go. And as you said, this is the absolute. This would be the worst take of all. Is we didn't even need to host it, and we won it anyway. That would be the absolute terrible level of discourse that you get from the Irish. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. So long as England don't bumble their way through to a World Cup final like some sort of like Frank Spencer-esque.
even if they do,
team.
They're not going to beat one of the actual proper teams.
No, it'd just be like England in 2007 all over again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like they might even get to a semi. They might, depending who goes out of that other pool, they probably will beat Australia. They might be. I can't see them losing to Fiji twice in a year. So there's every chance that they get to a semi-final. And then they start to get annoying by that stage. But then they also play a real team for the first time in about 8 months. And they're going to get absolutely battered.
And then they put Ireland out with the performance of a lifetime. And then
that would be good. That would be good. They finally win a quarter final, they get humbled, get their pants pulled down in front of everyone by England in the semis, and then England get South Africa in the final again and lose again.
And South
That would be
Africa
amazing.
put
That
a
would be-
50-pointer past them.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's good. It's good to have it's good to have a plan B of what of our hopes and dreams for if we don't qualify, isn't it? It's just
I've got a sort of like quite pie in the sky hope that Scotland get out of the group, and then it's like quite fun. I'm fairly sure that's not going to happen. So any other scenario that involves England and Ireland being publicly humiliated is not going to happen.
what we need to find is an out. Yeah, we just need to find the outcome in which kind of like things then just go terribly for everyone else.
Yeah.
That's what we want out of this World Cup.
We'd written our World Cup off about 2 years ago and just gone fully in on what makes everybody else most miserable. And I'm happy to just write that.
Which is why I'm wearing this shirt tonight.
I keep saying it's the don't back down, double down World Cup for Scotland.
Yeah, like if we're going to go out, which we probably are, then Wales go out in the pools. England get Ireland in the semis, humiliate Ireland after they finally win a quarterfinal, and then get to the final and get absolutely prison shamed by South Africa. Everyone is sad except us. Job done. That's a happy world.
You know, we're essentially John Ralphio in Parks and Rec, just going around shouting everyone's ears, "We're the worst."
We've been playing that role for like 2.5 years now, and I'm fine with it.
Everyone's like, "You're rubbish, and you've never, you didn't get out your pool." It's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna revel in how crap things are going for you now. This is my fun. And on that note, we're off to revel in that a little bit more in the Patreon podcast. We'll be back next week to talk about the Tonga game. We'll know a little bit more about where things stand after South Africa and Ireland. At this stage, we don't know what the lineup is for Scotland. I'd expect that'll be announced probably at some point tomorrow. It's Tonga, and I know famous last words. We're probably not going to do a mini pod previewing that. I don't think there's much cause to do it, but we'll be live again Wednesday, Thursday night next week to review that game. For the moment, though, it is goodbye from me and goodbye from John and Johnny.
Goodbye.
Bye all.